where we're going with making the maple syrup is to produce either 250 milliliter bottles of maple syrup, or the 500 milliliters, or the 1 liter. Now, if you have a tree, one tree, you can actually produce a liter of maple syrup. It's very difficult, but we'll talk about how you do that right now. You can start small. If you start small, one tree, you can have a drill, the old-fashioned drill where you go around and around. I'm pretty lazy. I use one that is very, very quick. You can use the spade bit, 7/16 of an inch, or this drill, and the depth is about that much that you drill in, depending on the thickness of the bark. The thicker the bark, the more you've got to drill in so that you're sure to get lots of juice coming out. And if you do this in March, well, you can actually do it in February if it's warm enough. You can see instantly liquid coming out, and you know you've hit pay dirt. Now, after you drill the hole, you need to put the spile in. That's called a spile. The sap goes in one end, comes out, drops into the pail. Now, in order to bang this spile into the tree hole that you just made, you've got to bang it in. So, one of the worst things that I did, and I did it for several years, was to tap these, and lo and behold, the metal started to bend, and just showing how stupid I was, I had to buy some more and replace them. And then I discovered that there are little gadgets that you can put into the spile, and when you tap on the end of that, it doesn't damage the spile at all. So at the end of the year, you can then go along with a spile remover and pull it out of the tree. Once you've done all that, you already have lots of sap. Now, what are you going to do with the sap? You need to carry it from one place where the tree is to where you're going to boil it down. Why do you boil it down? Because there's a 40-to-1 ratio where you have to boil off 40 parts of water before you can get 1 part of wonderful maple syrup. So it takes a great deal of energy to do that, and doing this is half the fun. So here's the kind of pail you use that you hang on the spile. And the liquid drips into the pail. And then the lid goes on top of the pail so that rainwater won't dilute your well-earned sap. Now, you do want to take your sap to where you will boil it down. We boil it down in that evaporator that's on top of the stove. And in order to get it there, we can either pour the sap from the pail, or we can take the sap and pour it into large brute containers, and then these brute containers should be on an easy to move vehicle of some sort. We've got a trailer which will hold 2 of these brute containers, and that's quite a bit of sap. The other stupid thing I did was that I didn't have any chains on the back of my vehicle. Now I've got, here's an 18 horsepower vehicle to pull the sap, and I discovered that if I didn't have chains on it and it was icy, I couldn't get anywhere. Going through the woods is fine, but we've got trails here, and in order to get through there, you do need chains on them. I did use the ATV, and I had no chains on that at all, and I found I just couldn't get anywhere at all. So now I put chains on them in March, and we're all set. This chains here is actually all that you need to carry 2 brute containers. Each container, oh heck, you're probably 100 gallons of sap, which is quite a bit of sap. Because when you take that 100 gallons, you want to put 45 gallons in the evaporator. So then you've got to take this sap and store it somewhere. We have 4 barrels, each one being about 45 gallons. And these barrels are linked together so that, let me just show you here. So that I can pour sap in the one, and when it's full, I can stop it going in there, or simply pour sap into one, and it will go from this barrel to this barrel to this barrel to this barrel. When the barrels are all full, in actual fact, we've got say approximately 150 gallons of sap that can be then sent directly down to the evaporator here. Now, this evaporator, you know, like I said, I'm a pretty lazy person, and so all I need to do is to open up the spigot, and sap will flow down here, and it'll fill it up, and I can easily turn it off. Now, at the same time, I have a longer hose here so that I have the flexibility of adding another evaporator over on this other side, and that evaporator is not usually used, but I have used it several times.